Hi there, Scott Action Jackson here, and for these videos, I guess you could say Santa Scott. Although, this might be the last Christmas video I'll be doing on my channel here, due to the fact that none of these are really getting popular, or also I guess also because of the fact that there's one jackass who keeps thumbs downing everything that I post on here, on top of the fact that none of these videos are really getting over as much as I thought they would. I thought there'd be comments and memories being shared. So we finish off the Christmas Carol trilogy of videos that I'm making with 2004's A Christmas Carol the Musical. It's a musical with TV budget-ish. Since we mostly know the usual story as far as A Christmas Carol with Scrooge and him getting haunted and changing his ways and becoming a good guy, we mostly know how this goes. With this Christmas Carol the Musical, I kind of have a bit more emotional attachment to it. I guess it's because we get to know more about the characters, and I don't know, in a weird way, I think I can feel and relate for Scrooge in this version. There's so much of this that I want to talk about, and so much I don't. Because my notes are, there's a shit ton of notes that I wrote down for this, but considering I don't know if this recording will stay or not. One big difference on this version of Christmas Carol is that it doesn't start off at Scrooge and Marley's. It starts off at the Royal Exchange. We get Scrooge showing up late due to Bob Cratchit's cold, and Scrooge becomes an absolute asshole, even in front of a girl. Along the way back to his shop, Scrooge runs across Nephew Fred, who once again invites him to Christmas dinner. Scrooge bumps into the human mortal vessels of who will be the ghosts of Christmases past, present, and future. So remember the little girl who gets insulted at the Royal Exchange toward the beginning? Yeah, we get to see her again following a funeral march. And she starts singing to Scrooge, and it just pauses him. It stuns him, and I think it's just hearing the song that she sings catches him off guard, and but it is only for a short while. Here's another instance where it's different from the other ones. We get to see the Cratchit family early, including little Tiny Tim. Seeing the attachment of Bob Cratchit and Tiny Tim kind of gets to you. I like when we get to the door knocker part, where the ghost shows up and scares Scrooge for a bit. On this version, the ghost shows up, opens his eyes, closes its eyes, and it disappears from the door knocker. In the previous versions, the face stays on the door knocker. We don't see it disappear. On this one, it disappears. So it kind of messes with Scrooge's mind for a bit there. Now, with the first haunting, with Marley's ghost, I find it interesting that Marley appears through the wall and not just through a normal entry doorway. On top of the fact that we actually get a lot more spirits showing up to actually help haunt Scrooge. I do like Marley's Ghost's song more than the Muppet Christmas Carol. Yeah, I definitely enjoy Link by Link more than the Marley and Marley. Throughout this song, there is some nice effects that go on, from hands reaching out from Ghost's box chests to a contract reading Ebenezer Scrooge for his afterlife. So we get to the Ghost of Christmas Past showing up. I like when she sings a song, The Lights of Long Ago. I looked this song up online by way of YouTube, and all I see is like guys singing Lights of Long Ago song. And it doesn't quite sound right. Because with Ghost of Christmas Past, I have no issue with the woman playing the ghost, But I kind of like the more childlike it was with the effects they used with the Muppet version. The Muppet Christmas Carol version. In this film version, we get to see more of Scrooge's past. As in, we get to see him as a child with his sister and his mother watching his father get locked up in prison, and his father actually shouting out to them to work hard, save their money, and never go poor. Their mother tells them, above all, do not let your hearts go bitter. We don't see his heart go bitter until the young adulthood. When we go to Fezziwigs, we get to see this current version of Scrooge's love interest, and she's being played by Jennifer Love Hewitt. And we get to the point where she breaks off of the relationship engagement, and we see the current Scrooge shouting at the young one to go after her, because Scrooge remembers he fucked up at this point. Now, with this breakup, I think I prefer the Muppet version more, because we get that song, When Love Is Gone. Now, here's something that we see in this version that we haven't seen in any of the other ones I've covered so far, and that is the death of Jacob Marley. It's a bit unsettling seeing it happen on here, but it's one of the things that Scrooge remembers and is kind of a burden with Scrooge. The Ghost of Christmas Present. This is another case of where I have no issue with the actor. I like the actor. I mostly remember him for his work with Rent. But I do prefer the Muppet Christmas Carol version of The Ghost of Christmas Present. But with this version of the character, he performs his main song on a stage for Scrooge and an audience of mostly children. With it being called A Christmas Carol the Musical, I'm okay with this song being performed on an actual stage. It kind of makes sense. It's funny watching them drag Scrooge up onto the stage to, I guess, perform-ish for the audience. The Ghost of Christmas Present now takes him to nephew Fred's place, where him and his wife and their son go about talking about Scrooge and how they asked to show up every year, but his nephew Fred says even though he didn't get to know his mother, though he never knew her, he hoped to know him someday. It's a bit heartbreaking and touching, because even though it is his nephew Fred and he turns him down and insults him and his cheerfulness and his wanting to celebrate, nephew Fred still asks him every year because it's his family, and he's going to keep asking him every time until he finally accepts. We go to the Cratchit house, where we get to see more time with Tiny Tim and Bob Cratchit and their family. And at the end of the song here that they sing along with some other families in the present of Christmas Day, some touching moments between Bob and his son, Tiny Tim, which causes emotional feelings to come out in Ebenezer Scrooge. And as we know, Scrooge asks the Ghost of Christmas Present about Tiny Tim, if the boy will live. And we know the response normally, but
the child will die. No!
We get to the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. And when we instantly get taken to the graveyard, oh boy, the emotions, the emotions will be coming out of you, because it's during these scenes in the graveyard that kind of took it out on me, and I did start breaking down. In the graveyard, we go from, we know it's Scrooge's grave that's being dug up. We know they're robbing from Scrooge himself while he's laying on his bed. But it gets you when they go to Tiny Tim's grave with the Cratchit family there. and Bob Cratchit singing to his son who's buried, which then goes to Scrooge seeing his own grave. Here lies Ebenezer Scrooge, who was never loved. Get ready for some more tears, because as he rises from looking at his grave, he turns around, and the little girl is there singing that song. God Bless Us Everyone song. Scrooge kind of sings, and then more children show up singing along. And at one point, we see Scrooge's mother and sister show up singing. And then Scrooge just belts out singing along. Scrooge's grave cracks and kind of explodes, and Scrooge scurries away, or trying to run away from it. But Scrooge wakes up in his room. Scrooge starts going on about how the spirits has helped make this happen. The spirits can do what they want, blah, blah, blah. He grabs a boy that was caroling outside of his home, asks the boy to grab the prize turkey, gets dressed, goes out to do some good deeds, and we see him come across the three ghosts in their mortal human selves as Scrooge comes across them. And when he approaches the last one, who was the ghost of Christmas yet to come, he says to her, "Thank you." We have Ebenezer Scrooge, and a lot of the whole town of London, city of London, with him as he goes to the Cratchit house. I always find it funny how Scrooge does this whole, "Oh, I gotta be serious, yep, serious," and then breaks into his happy, jolly good self that he has become.
Oh, dear. Well, silly me. I guess I'd better give you and your family a Christmas present then.
From there, we go to not only most of London, but now also the Cratchits, following Scrooge to his nephew Fred's place, which is somehow just a few corners away from the Cratchits. Somehow. His nephew Fred is shocked to see his uncle there, that his uncle finally accepted his offer, and nephew Fred and his wife and son more or less welcomes him home to family.
Welcome home to family.
And at this point, Scrooge probably thinks he doesn't deserve it, but he's here to make amends as much as he can. Wow, what's happening? Some snow begins to fall, and that's a cue for the big finale. And everyone's celebrating and happy. And the last image we see on this film is Scrooge looking up at the heavens. Now, this is just my take on this. Not everyone's going to share the same opinion. But to me, this is the most superior version of A Christmas Carol on film that I know of right now. Because it has more stuff from Scrooge's past than some of the other film versions that I've covered for these videos. Now, I know I have not seen the recent BBC miniseries version of A Christmas Carol. I'm hoping to at some point. I really thoroughly enjoy this version. In fact, I got the soundtrack of it. Now, I do have this on DVD, and I found this on YouTube, where the YouTube version is probably like the lowest quality version of it that they could upload. It can be cheerful, joyful, sad, heartbreaking, emotional, kind of all these in one. Now, I don't know if there are others out there that feel the same way about this version that I do, but it's the way I feel about this one. I'd say if you're able to find it and watch it, give it a shot. I think you would definitely be enjoying this version if you are into the musicals more than the standard film movie. I guess that's it for me. I'm done with this Christmas Carol videos now. All I gotta do is hope that the audio is fine on this version and not got some electrical staticky feedback, edit this and put it up on YouTube. And hopefully do it before Christmas, if I'm lucky. So until whenever I post another video, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year.